Well, hi everyone and welcome back. No costume today. Uh, um, yeah, Halloween is over. As usual, I had zero trick-or-treaters, but that was fine. One thing that I did this year that was a lot of fun is I participated in the Black Needle Society's Witching Hour Stitch Along. So I managed both of the stitching challenges. With the stash dive, I took just a little bit too long to try to figure out how I was going to post all my pictures and ended up missing it, so I didn't qualify. I had my costume in the costume contest, one of them, and yeah, it was basically a good night. I was a little sad because I didn't get to really participate in the rooms and get to chat with everybody because we were warned multiple times that the chat rooms are very noise sensitive, and so if you have like even a fan or something generating white noise, that can be a problem. Also, a thing that can be a problem is pets, and Lexi was in a mood that night and she was constantly in and out and digging in things and chewing on things, and I just figured it was going to be too distracting, so I actually started a new anime while I was watching. I started Black Butler because it has kind of the creepy Halloween, spooky, gory vibe, and it's a lot of fun. It is all of those things. It's kind of creepy, it's kind of gory, but that's the way I like it. So I really enjoyed it. So I'm working on even another anime. So I'm working on that one. I'm working on My Hero Academia, and someday I'm gonna finish Fairy Tail. It's just so hard because it wasn't the first anime I watched, but it was the first one. Like the first one I watched was Death Note, and there's an inside story behind that would take way too long to explain. But Death Note is it's kind of a quick watch. It's, in anime terms, it's not very long. I think there's only like maybe 50 episodes, single season. So yeah, it wasn't that long. Fairy Tail was the first one I got into that was multiple seasons, super long. There's over 300 episodes, and I'm down to the last 30, and once I finish watching it, it's over. And I'm kind of having a hard time with that. So I keep putting it off. Plus, I also know that from the spot I'm at, it's going to be constant nonstop until the end, and I really want to kind of put it aside for a weekend because I'm not going to want to turn it off. Once I start watching that last bit, I'm not going to want to turn it off. So I'm trying to wait for a good weekend when I can actually watch that without too much worry. Yeah. But you guys aren't here to listen to me babble about anime. I'll try to remember I have a book recommendation also. I'll try to remember to mention that at the end. But what I got done this week, I didn't really do a whole lot of different projects. What I did was I focused on a few projects pretty intensely, and that was what I needed this week. I think last week I mentioned I was taking all of the requirements off myself. I was going to work on what I felt like working on, and just work on what I felt like working on. So I did that, and that resulted in me working on just a couple projects that really caught my imagination this week, and a few little bits of some other ones. So let me show you the ones I got just a little bit done on. The first one was Stitchonomy's Halloween Stitch Along. Even though I said I wasn't going to force myself to work on something, I really wanted to get this one done because it was Halloween. I didn't even come close. I got maybe like 20 or 30 stitches in on it. So let me show you what I got. Basically, all I added was these two little boxes here. So yeah, I've still got a really long way to go on this one. I'm going to have to get into my email and download all the patterns. I don't know if they go away, if they do, when they go away. But I need to get those because it is going to get finished. I just didn't get finished for Halloween. And I'm not sure how I feel about that one. I really enjoyed it. I liked seeing what was new every day, and it was a lot of fun. But at the same time, it put pressure on me that I didn't think worked very well with my mental state at the time. And I don't know. I don't know if it contributed or if it was just a fact that because I was already the way I was, it didn't hold my interest. I don't know. So I'm debating next year. I think I might give it one more shot, see what it feels like when I'm healthy, and yeah, just see what it feels like when I'm healthy and a little bit more excited than I have been the last few weeks. But it will get finished. I'll talk about that in my plans coming up. The other thing I did just a tiny bit on, and I literally think it was just a teeny tiny bit, was Dark Queen of the Seas. So here is where I'm at. And I mean, literally, I just finished a little bit more of the fish. So did not get this one done as I wanted to, did not work on it at all. The new pattern came out, and I have a choice to make. This pattern, you can see I've got the fish and I've got the start of the torso, and it stopped right about here. The next piece is the top half, and there are two options for the top half. There is the normal, gonna display it in my house, gonna be able to work on it at work, the normal pattern. And then there is the explicit pattern. And basically the difference is in one pattern, the dress has a bodice, and in the other half, the dress has no bodice. So I don't know which one I'm gonna do yet. I don't know. I'm gonna sit. This is gonna take me a while, obviously, since I'm still not even finished with part one. I'm probably gonna do the safe for work version, just because I carry my stitching with me so many places, especially when I go see my dad. The nephews always show up. Probably not something I want to have around the 6 and the 7-year-old. Probably something their parents don't want me to have around the 6 and the 7-year-old. So I still have to think about that. But like I said, I've got plenty of time because, as you can see, here is where I'm at right now. Before I get into the pieces I really worked on, I have my one little bit of haul. My fabric of the month from Mystic came in. And it is a delightful neutral, which we don't get a lot of in the Fabric of the Month Club. Not that I'm complaining. I love all the colors that I get. But it's fun every once in a while, and I know that one of the requests she had was to include some more neutrals. So we've got this lovely, like, brownish ivory, kind of like gold-looking thing. It's got some greenish tint to it that I don't think you can really see with the light behind me the way it is. But yeah, it is delightful, and it is called All the Things. Because her bet was that you could stitch all the things on this. And I'm thinking yes. I can't think of a pattern I have in my stash that I couldn't stitch on this. That's not entirely true. I have one pattern because it's completely white. But that means I would just change the color. So, yeah. And even that, I think, would show up. I just don't think it would pop the way that I would want it to. So yeah, I think she did a good job with this fabric in coming up with a neutral that could work with just about all the things. So brava. I don't think I mentioned this last week. In fact, I know I didn't because I stitched it on Tuesday and I did my Flosstube on Monday night. So I'm still behind on the temperature stitch along, but here's where I'm at. This is about 2 weeks behind, not quite. But you can see we've started into the top border. Where it looks like there's a hole here, that's actually because that's my my color for rain. It's didn't look as navy on the skein as it did when I actually got it onto the fabric, and it really just completely vanishes into the fabric. But here's where I'm at. Where I'm supposed to be is all the way over in this corner. And it's Tuesday, and usually that's my day to work on stitch alongs, but today is election day in the United States, and so I actually worked on a different piece that you're going to see in a minute. But starting next week, temperature stitch along Tuesday, I will not be able to catch up I will not be able to catch all the way up on one Tuesday because I only have a few hours before I have to leave for work. But over the course of a couple Tuesdays, I should be able to slowly catch up to where I'm supposed to be, especially since these are going to start stitching really fast. I mean, this border is pretty much straight, very little counting. Up here around these diamonds, I think there's some actual counting rather than just solid border, but the rest of it's just border. So should get caught up soon. So I pretty much focused on 2 main pieces in the last week, and they were both themed around the time of year that it is. The first one, since it was Halloween, and you saw this one last week. And that has to go back in the envelope. I don't know. The first one is The Witch's Spell by Autumn Lane Stitchery. And I got quite a bit done on this one, and I love it more every time I work on it. So here is where I am. You can see I got some more of the spell out here worked on. You can start to see the eyes and the creepy. And then I started to get some of the trees in the background stitched in, and I've got one of the little poppets hanging in the tree in the background. So that's where I'm at. That was most of the witching hour stitched together. So there's about not quite a full 6 hours of work in, but there's probably a good 4.5, 5 hours of work in on that one that I got in that night. So again, I'm really happy with it. I don't want to put it down. Maybe I won't. I don't know. Everything is kind of up in the air right now. So I worked on that. And then the last couple days, I am really anxious about the election. Not gonna lie. I have my opinions. I am not going to bother you with them. I hope that you did get out and vote. But I'm very anxious, and so I needed something to do to work out some of my anxiety. And so I picked this project to work on. Sorry, you can't see off to the side of me, but it's literally just a pile of stuff, and I'm trying to dig through it and find all of the stuff I'm looking for. And that is Summerhouse Stitchworks, Sister Suffragette. because this is kind of a big year in the United States. For 1920 was the first year that any women were entitled to vote in the United States. Not all women by a long shot, and I'm kind of debating putting a little asterisk here next to 1920 because that's when white women could vote. But it was the first women in the United States that could vote. So this is a centennial. And so I kind of wanted to do this one, even though it's not really my style. It's on linen, which is, holy cow. I'm enjoying it, and I love the way it looks, but counting linen is a new experience, and I've had to frog so much. So I didn't get as far as I thought I would, but here's where I am. And what I did was I started in the center here, and then since the counting is the hardest part for me, and it's harder for me to count this way, because once I find the start here, I can just like fill it in and it just goes along. But counting out this way, everything has to come back. So I started counting out to the side, and you can see I've made it all the way to the end and all the way to the top and the bottom. So maybe a third of the way done, over a quarter of the way done. But yeah, not bad for just last night and today, I don't think. And I will keep working on it. So that is that. Future plans, since it is November 3rd today, what am I planning to do with my November? I'm going to start to put myself back on a little deadline, but it's going to be more free-for-all than it has been in the past. So the first thing I'm going to do is my priority project for this month is going to be the stitch along that I am the furthest behind on. Once they've released the last pattern, I consider it just another whip. So several things that were stitch alongs are now just whips, and that's Letters from Hogwarts, the final pattern released the other day. Really excited to work on my Patronus, but it is going to take me a super duper long time to get there. Avatar, The Last Airbender stitch along. Surprisingly, we got the last pattern early. So I was supposed to get the second to last pattern, and she went ahead and released the whole thing. So that is now just another whip to add to the list. Stitchonomy's Halloween Stitch Along is now just another whip. And Stitching Book Club Frankenstein is now just another whip. So those are all going to stay on my list. I'm not giving up on any of them. I'm not going to stop working on any of them, but they go into the regular rotation with the rest of the whips. They don't get any stitch along priority anymore. Someday I'm going to keep up on a stitch along, but it's not going to be in 2020. Oh boy. So, my priority project is going to be the stitch along that I am furthest behind on. And that is going to be Grimm's Fairy Tales. And the reason why is, here is where I am. Here is January, here is February. And then it goes March, April, May, June, July. And you can't really see it because of the Q-snap, but there's no March, April, May, and certainly no June. So yeah, I've got 2 of 11 months of releases done on this one, and I'm not even done with this one. And my plan is I'll finish July, August, then I think it goes September, October, and November. And then I'm going to try to come up and work around. So yeah, starting tomorrow, this is going to be the one that I work on every day if I work on anything. And that's except Tuesdays. And this week is going to be crazy because I took a second part-time job and I have my training I have my training from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Tuesday and Thursday, on Thursday and Friday. And then I have to go straight from there to my full work shift at my regular job. So 3:30 to 1 a.m. And then Friday also starts 24 hours of cross stitch. I don't think I'm going to get 24 hours in. I completely forgot about this training. So yeah, there's not going to be a lot of days during the week I work on this, so don't expect this first week to see a lot of progress. But after that, I'm hoping to get some more. And this is going to be my priority for November. And then after that, I have kind of chosen a theme. My stitch-alongs, or where and when the mood strikes me, I've only got, besides Grimm's and the Temperature stitch-along, I've only got 2 that are active right now. And those are Dark Queen and The Good Place. And both of those I'm enjoying, so probably won't be too much hassle for me to motivate myself to work on those. But I'd like to get some stuff off my plate. So my goal is going to be projects that I'm fairly certain will be a fast stitch and or are close to the end. So, Stitchonomy, Stitching Book Club. Those I think are both, Stitching Book Club especially should be relatively quick stitch. I've just got a little bit more of the center square, and then it's all going to be border, so it's going to be repeating, so it should be smooth sailing. So yeah, that one I'm not too worried about. And then also Halloween stitch along, maybe not, because I'm not even halfway done with that one. So there's probably another good 20 hours left to go on that one. But the other ones, I have this one, and you can't really see what it is yet. But it's super fast stitch because half of it is just words, and words are fast to stitch. And what it's going to say is, shh, introvert recharging. And then it's got a woman sitting over here with a cup of tea and a book, which are very much me, and a cat, which is very much not me, but I don't think I'm talented enough to change it to Lexi. But a book, a cup of tea, and a pet is very much me when I'm not stitching, so I think this one should go relatively fast, so it's going to go into the to work on bin. Sister Suffragette is, like I said, is going to be a pretty quick stitch, so I'll probably continue working on that one. And the other one, where did it go? I'm like, aha, there it is. Dark Queen. I said Dark Queen of the Seas on top of it. This piece in and of itself should be a really quick stitch, but it's part of a larger piece that's going to take me a really long time. So this is Tiny Modernists Words to Live By. It's a 13-part series. This is part 2. I think I have parts 2, 3, and 4. So one of my goals is to get all 13 parts. And then when I get done with them, I am going to put them onto the front of a quilt, which means I'm going to have to learn how to quilt. But anyway, so this is Words to Live By part 2. It's when it's dark, when it rains, look for rainbows. When it's dark, look for stars. And it's on an 8x10 piece of Ada, so it should be really quick, especially since I think that represents like an hour of what I did. This is a Mania start that I haven't really picked up since. So I think that's another one that I could get off my plate really quickly. So those are the things that I want to work on this month, so that I can take things off my wheel. Is my phone? Yeah, here. Let me show you what my wheel looks like. This is my wheel of all my current whips. Yes, I don't care. So I think there's like 32 different whips on there. And I would really like to see some of them come off so that this is easier to read and, you know, that it might actually be useful. Because right now I don't use this because the idea of working on one of and actually I don't think everything's on here. Oh yes it is. I thought Stitchonomy wasn't, but it is. Having a 1 in 32 chance of working on any one project on any given day, I feel like I will never get anything done if I do that. But eventually I'd like to get back to just doing this where I don't know what I feel like working on today, spin the wheel. Sorry about that. I have to remember to turn the do not disturb on my phone when I'm recording so that it won't shut off in the middle of me speaking when the phone rings. It's stupid. I don't like it. So anyway, that is where I'm at. That's what I'm planning to work on this month. Of course, that could all fly out the door, and honestly, anything and everything of those 32 projects is fair game. And who knows, maybe the mood will strike me and I'll start something new. I'm really trying not to. I'm trying not to start anything new until Mania. Let's get some of this out of the way before I add 30 more. Yeah. So that's that. And it is the first week of the month, so I have a learning video for you guys. Well, I don't have one. I'm creating it right now as we are speaking. So, let me pull this up. Full disclosure, I kind of cheated this time because the only really good tutorial that I could find for this first thing that made sense to me was a video tutorial, and I'm not going to sit here and make you guys watch me watch a video. So I already watched the video and I kind of worked my way along, but now we're going to see if I can do it without the video. And that is the long tail cast on. And then we're going to work on joining in the round. So let's see how this goes, huh? Alright, first thing, I've got my ugly yarn. Again, this is the yarn that I tried to speckle dye and it didn't work too well. And I have already, this is actually the tail of my long tail cast on. I've already got out there because I was, because as the name implies, you need a long tail. Basically what I did was I wrapped this around the needle 54 times because that's how many stitches I'm going to need, and then I doubled it. So this should be way, way more than I need, but I'm a newbie and I don't know how to do this, so we're just going to try it that way. So if I remember right, the first thing you do, take your needle and just drape the yarn over it. The tail needs to be in the front. Tail needs to be in the front. And the yarn that's attached to the skein is in the back. So now I'm going to put my finger right there and hold this. I guess you can also make a slip knot, but this kind of just made sense to me this way. And then I'm going to stick my thumb and forefinger in here and pull out. So my index finger is on the back of the wool and my thumb is on the front on the tail, and then I'm holding both ends in my hand like this. So this is the end that is the tail, this is the end that is the wool. So it's basically backwards from what I'm seeing. Okay, now comes the part where I have to actually remember how to do something. I got this part down. Okay, so you bring the tip towards myself, and then come up under the stuff on my thumb. Okay. Then I'm going to come around the top and behind the one on my index finger. Okay, and what do I do next? Oh, I know. Bring this down my thumb and straight through the loop again, and then I can drop that and pull it tight. And if I did this right, there should be 2 stitches on there. Yeah! All right. So now it's the same thing. Go under and around and down and drop. Yeah, look at. All right. Under and around and down and drop. Under and around and down and drop. Okay, so this is actually a lot easier than I thought it was. Under and around and down and drop. Under and around and down and drop. Look at that. Under and around and down and drop. I got a rhythm now. Under and around and down and drop. Okay, well, I'm not going to sit here and make you watch me cast on 54 of these stitches and listen to the stupid song that I'm singing to myself the entire time. So, I'm going to take a quick break. I'm going to finish casting this on, and then when I come back, we will look into joining this in the round. Okay, I'm back, and here we go. I have my 54 stitches on my 1 single point needle, and now the next step is going to be to switch to transfer these, divide them equally among 3 of my double pointed needles. And I'll let you guys watch me figure this out, because isn't that the point of these? So let's see, 54 divided by 3 is 18. 18 per needle. Alright, and I guess I'm supposed to start with the first cast on stitch. So, one thing that I'm worried about learning a new cast on technique is these stitches are tight. So yeah, I am really worried. There's 2 that I'm not going to be able to knit very well, or even just doing this transfer. Well, hopefully I edited that okay so that you guys don't just see like the entirety of my room as the camera just flipped off the back of the stool that I've got it on. So anyway, where I was transferring stitches and lamenting how tight they are and how worried I am that I am actually not going to be able to knit very easily because I did this cast on so tight. But I mean, that's how you learn. Six. I guess I should move this so you guys can actually see it, huh? Basically, all I'm doing is I'm putting the needle in as if I were going to purl which for lefty me is towards me, so you can't really see it too well anyway. 7, but you can see I'm slowly starting to transfer them over. And again, you don't really need to see this, and if I was better at this, I would just do the fast forward thing, but I'm not, so I'm just gonna turn off the camera for a second, distribute this among the 3 needles, and then we'll come back to do the important part, which is the join. Okay, so I've got it divided among my 3 needles. You can kind of see here they're forming a little triangle. And now comes the fun part. All right, first I need to make sure that none of this is twisted. The whole center needle seems to be twisted. All right, so there we go. None of my stitches are twisted on the needles. Here is the last stitch I cast on. Here is the first stitch I cast on. And if I am doing this right, I believe what I do is take the first stitch I cast on and move it onto the needle with the last stitch. These stitches are so small and so tight together. Don't even think about it. I see you. Don't. Hi. Guess who? Say hi. All right. Love, 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 love. Yes. Okay, that's enough for now. Come back in a minute. Come back in a minute. Okay, so, yeah, please don't take my yarn with you. I am getting kisses now. So, that stitch was originally here, and now I guess the next thing I do is take the last stitch on what was the last stitch, now is second to last stitch, and pass it over all right, so now they are joined in the round. And I guess, let me get my instructions up. And you know what? I've done all this and I've made a mistake because look at my pattern and I thought it said 54 because that's something you can evenly divide among three needles, but it's not. It's 56 stitches. So I've learned how to join them around and I've learned how to cast on, and now I'm going to go back and do them both again. But I'm going to cast on 56 stitches instead of 54. And then I'm going to go ahead and start knitting my socks. And you will now see them in my whip updates. So anyway, there we go. There is my attempt at, apparently I can't read a pattern, but everything else was okay. Long tail cast on and joining in the round. if I actually had cast on the right number of stitches, I would go ahead and start, well, you know what, there's no harm in it. No harm, no foul, right? So let's see if I can get a feel for how to knit in the round. And somewhere down here there's a stitch marker. And oh, here it is. So if I were actually starting to knit, I would place this at the second to last stitch, but I'm not. But from what I understand, really all you got to do is just knit like you normally would. So, well, I guess there's a little bit of a complication in that the needles get in the way. But, and the tail, it's hard to tell which end is the tail. So, but yeah, I guess that's all you do is you just oh yeah, these are holy tight. So I guess it's good that I'll be casting on again because I'm going to have to work on that. But as you can see, I got a couple stitches on to a new needle, and my understanding is I knit until this one has no stitches on it, and then it becomes the one that I knit with on the next one, and so on and so forth, around and around and around we go. So we'll find out how that works. And that's it for this time. Hope you guys all have a great week. No, I'm not going to say that. I almost made a political statement, but I'm not going to. I hope you guys, if you're in the United States, and that you were able to get out and get your vote in and get your voice heard. I know a lot of people say, well, but just one vote in the scheme of thousands and millions of votes doesn't really count. Well, it doesn't really until a million people decide their one vote doesn't count, and then none of them vote. And then there's a million people whose voices didn't get heard. So, yeah, I hope that if you are able, that you got out and voted. And until next week, I hope you guys stay safe and stay happy. And I will see you next time. Bye.